I never thought my own mother would betray me. But when she did, she made one mistake, underestimating me. I grew up in a house that felt more like a part of me than just a place to live. It was where I had my first birthday party, where I carved my initials into the wooden staircase when I was 8, and where I spent countless nights staring at the ceiling, dreaming about the future. My father built that house with his own hands, every brick a part of his legacy. And he had promised that one day, it would be mine. But when my father passed away, everything changed. My mother had always been distant, but after my father died, it was as if any love she had for me disappeared along with him. She started treating me more like a burden than a daughter. I tried to be understanding. Grief does strange things to people. But then, one day, out of the blue, she sat me down and said words that shattered me. "I sold the house," she said, sipping her coffee like she hadn't just ripped my entire childhood away from me. I blinked, thinking I had misheard her. "You, what?" Her lips curled into a smirk, a kind of satisfaction in her eyes that made my stomach turn. "You were never meant to have it, it was never yours." I felt the air leave my lungs. "Dad wanted me to have it," she shrugged. "Well, he's not here anymore, is he?" She slid a check across the table toward me, a disgustingly low amount for what the house was worth. "Here, consider it your cut." My hand shook as I stared at the check. It wasn't just about the money, it was the betrayal, the blatant disregard for everything my father had worked for, everything he had left behind for me. "But, why?" My voice came out weak, almost pleading. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Because I can." That was the moment I realized. She didn't just sell the house to get rid of it. She sold it to hurt me. To prove that she had control. She thought I would walk away. She thought I would accept it. She had no idea that I had a plan. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply took the check, folded it neatly, and slid it into my pocket. Then, I gave her the sweetest smile I could muster. "Good luck, Mom," I said, turning on my heel and walking away. She didn't know what was coming next. Because that house? It wasn't just walls and a roof. It was mine. And I was going to take it back. Section 2. The first thing I did was find out who had bought the house. It wasn't hard. Small towns love to talk. It turned out it had been sold to a real estate developer. Someone who planned to tear it down and build a set of luxury townhomes. My heart twisted at the thought of my father's handiwork being demolished. But I swallowed my emotions. This wasn't about sentiment anymore. This was about strategy. I had a secret my mother didn't know. Before my father passed, he had told me something. Something that I had kept to myself. Not realizing it would one day be my weapon. He had left behind a clause in his will. A single line that stated, if the house is ever sold outside the family, the buyer must give the next of kin a chance to reclaim it at fair market value. And who was the next of kin? Mr. I dug through every legal document I had, consulting an old lawyer who had been friends with my dad. And sure enough, the clause held up. Now, all I had to do was get the money. My mother thought she had won because she assumed I was powerless. But what she didn't realize was that I had been saving. Every birthday gift, every side hustle, every penny I could tuck away, I had it all. It wasn't enough, but it was close. Then, fate handed me something incredible. I found out that the developer who had bought the house had run into financial trouble. A scandal had broken out about misused funds, and suddenly, they were desperate to sell off assets, including my house. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. I reached out, making them an offer, using every penny I had, plus a small loan from the same lawyer who had helped me. They accepted. I was my house back. But I wasn't done yet. Because I had one last thing to do. I waited until the day the papers were signed. Then, I invited my mother over. I told her nothing, just that I wanted to talk. She arrived, dressed in her usual expensive clothes, looking at me with that same smug expression. So, have you finally come to your senses? She asked. I handed her an envelope. She opened it, her face shifting from amusement to shock in a matter of seconds. This is a deed to the house. I nodded. Yeah, because it's mine now. Her eyes widened. But, how? I leaned back, crossing my arms, mirroring the way she had done to me that day. Because you never really had control, Mom. You just thought you did. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in my life, she had nothing to say. I stood up, walking toward the door. Now, if you don't mind, I have a home to take care of. I stood up, walking toward the door. Now, if you don't mind, I have a home to take care of. She stared at me, realizing she had lost. I didn't look back. I walked into my house, into the place where my father's legacy still stood. I had one. And this time, no one was taking it from me. I stood on the porch of my childhood home, my hands gripping the railing as the realization settled in. This house, my house, was finally back where it belonged. The paperwork had been signed, the deed was in my name, and there was nothing my mother could do about it. But I wasn't finished yet. Because this wasn't just about getting my house back. This was about making sure she understood exactly what she had done, and that she would never have control over me again. After she left, I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The air was thick with dust, the furniture covered in white sheets, like ghosts of the past still lingering. I ran my fingers over the wooden staircase, tracing the initials I had carved there when I was 8 years old. My father's presence was everywhere. In the worn-out kitchen tiles he had laid himself, in the bookshelves he had built, in the backyard where we had planted a tree together when I was just a little girl. I closed my eyes and whispered, I did it, Dad. But I knew there was still more to do. The house had been neglected. The developer had planned to demolish it so they hadn't bothered to maintain anything. The roof leaked, the plumbing was a mess, and the floors creaked louder than they used to. But I didn't care. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. At first, it was just me, scrubbing floors, fixing what I could, making lists of what needed professional help. But then, something unexpected happened. People started showing up. First, it was my neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, who had lived down the street since I was a kid. She knocked on my door with a plate cookies and said, "Your dad would be so proud of you. Need an extra pair of hands?" Then, it was Mr. Lopez, who had worked with my dad on the original construction of the house. "I still have some of the old blueprints," he said with a smile. "Let's bring this place back to life." Before I knew it, the whole neighborhood was pitching in. Some brought supplies, others offered their skills, and even the local diner sent over meals for everyone working on the house. Word got around town fast. People remembered my father, the kind man who had helped build homes for others, who had never turned down someone in need. And now, they wanted to give back. It felt like magic. Every hammer strike, every brush of paint, every nail driven into the walls. It was like we were breathing life back into something that should never have been taken away. And then, just as everything was falling into place, my mother came back. I was outside, repainting the front porch, when her sleek black car pulled up. She stepped out, looking as polished as ever, her eyes scanning the house with a mixture of shock and something else, something close to resentment. "You're really doing all this?" she said, her voice laced with disbelief. I set down my paintbrush and wiped my hands on my jeans. "I told you, Mom, this house was never yours to take away." She scoffed, crossing her arms. "You think you won?" I tilted my head. "I don't think, I know." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Houses cost money to maintain. Repairs, taxes. You'll drown in expenses. You should have just taken the check I gave you and moved on." I smiled. "Funny, that's exactly what I thought you'd say." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. She took it, her eyes scanning the words, and then her face paled. "What is this?" she demanded. A legal notice, I said, crossing my arms. See, I did some digging. Turns out, when you sold the house, you did it under some questionable circumstances. There were unpaid debts, shady financial moves, and let's not forget, you sold something that legally had a clause attached to it. You broke the terms of Dad's will, which means you could be sued for fraud. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the paper. But, I continued, I'm not going to take you to court. As long as you stay out of my life. No more power plays. No more manipulation. You walk away, and this disappears. Her jaw clenched. She wanted to fight. I could see it in her eyes. But for the first time, she realized she had no leverage over me. No way to control me. After a long, tense silence, she crumpled the paper in her fist and hissed, "You're just like your father." I smiled. Thank you. She turned on her heel and stormed back to her car. She didn't look back. I watched her drive away, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I had won. Not just the house, but my freedom. As I turned back toward the house, I saw the people who had been helping me standing there, watching, waiting. And in that moment, I realized something. Family isn't always the people you're born to. Sometimes, family is the people who show up for you when you need them the most. And this house? It was not just bricks and wood. It was symbol of everything my father had built. And now, it was home again.